Thank you. Well, let me start by saying Dan's parents might have had a few issues with Dan going into the field of psychedelic wellness. You can only imagine, I have a 23-year-old daughter here with me, when she tells her friends what her mom does for a living, right? So, yeah, my mom gives people psychedelics. Right? So let me tell you my lens, okay? Because I have sort of an interesting lens and perspective I bring to this conversation today, particularly being here with you all in the field of wellness. So I am a licensed psychotherapist. I've been a professional in the field of mental health for over 30 years. And I'm also one of the first certified psychedelic assisted psychotherapists. That's a really cool thing to be able to say at 60 years old, that I'm one of the first psychedelic assisted psychotherapists. So in that training, which was a year-long training, I studied with some of the lead researchers at Johns Hopkins, at NYU, and at the London Imperial College. All of those people were speakers in my training. So I have a really good understanding of how this medicine is coming now into the conversation for mental health, for wellness, for consciousness. I also, as Jean-Guy mentioned, I studied mind-body medicine at the Harvard Mind-Body Medical Institute, and I've been a consultant with spa and wellness industry for many years, developing alternative and complementary medicine programs. So I'm familiar with integrating new innovative programs into the hospitality, wellness, and wellness hotel sector. I also run my own retreats, and I'm going to speak to you today as a psychedelic visionary. So I'm going to say some things that are probably a little controversial in the field, but I'm going to put out there a vision of what it might look like down the road. So I'm sure you will find it very interesting. So let me just say, when we talk about, are psychedelics going to find their way into the wellness conversation? Guess what? The genie is out of the bottle. This conversation is already happening. Case in point, Dan and I are here on stage with you, and we're talking about it. It's happening. I mean, how many of you have already been sort of thinking about and reading about and have pretty well aware of how this is coming into the conversation? Yeah.
Don't be shy. No one's judging.
Genie is out of the bottle, not going back in. Case in point, Rick Doblin, who maybe you've heard of, he's the founder, president of MAPS, the Multidisciplinary Association Psychedelic Studies, tongue twister. 2021, when he was at the Global Wellness Summit, he outlined a future of wellness where psychedelic medicine takes its place alongside such self-care practices as meditation and stress management. Right? So there's already in the conversation, people are talking about how do psychedelics fit into the wellness conversation. Well, Dan already sort of threw the stat out at you, but so psychedelics are the new kid on the block. Okay, they're the new kid on the block, but let's look at the numbers here. We've got global wellness at $98.42 billion by 2026, wellness tourism, 1.3 trillion by 2025. And psychedelic wellness and tourism, okay, global psychedelic drug market, already projected at 10.75 billion by 2027. So as a new kid on the block, jumping right in, rising in the ranks. Why? What is driving these trends? Well, I don't need to tell you that we are hungry. We are hungry for healing, hope, and wholeness. We as a species, across the board, on the planet right now, for the first time in history, statistics on depression across the board, higher than ever before. We have things, natural disasters, political unrest, climate chaos, so much going on. There are so many people that are hurting emotionally, and we are really, really hungry for what I would call psycho-spiritual health and healing. So, some of the rates of depression, and 1 billion people suffering from mental, emotional dis-ease. That's depression and anxiety. And those numbers always are actually higher than what they're able to report. COVID jumped depression and anxiety numbers up by 25%. Dan also mentioned, eco-anxiety and distress. I'm also a therapist in private practice, and I work with a lot of kids in their 20s, a lot of college-age students, and I am seeing so many people that have extreme eco-anxiety and distress, really concerned and worried about the state of the planet and what that means for their future. And I will talk about how these medicines really kind of have a way that they bring us into a deeper sense of sort of connectedness and some inner peace and around some of the things that are going on. And then personal growth and consciousness expansion. I think we're going to see these medicines find their way out of just being in clinical and medical models focused on mental health and mental disease to people who are also just hungry for a different way of meaning making about their existence. So we'll see plant medicine redefining how we perceive our journey of life. Johns Hopkins, the folks that are coming out of some of the Johns Hopkins studies cite that when they've used them in the research studies are saying that their psilocybin experience was one of the most profound experiences that they've had in their whole life, second to maybe childbirth. So people have really profound experiences on these medicines. Not always good. They can be very challenging. As Dan mentioned, lots of things can come up. It's unpredictable, but people do cite, even people that have challenging experiences, that this is profound and life-changing experiences they have with these medicines. So driving the trends, right? We see all of this, and you're already hearing about. What are some of the hot trends? People are looking for digital detox. People want more sleep. People want to connect. They want deep nature immersion. That all kind of ties in with what we can offer with psychedelics. So this is not, if and when, and I believe it's more a matter of when, psychedelics do find their way and get integrated into the wellness and wellness hotel and wellness resort space, this will not be the first time that we have adopted, adapted, and integrated ancient healing practices and traditions from other cultures into our modern day wellness experiences, okay? So just a couple of examples. Sauna, okay? Sauna, where does sauna come from? Sauna was an Estonian practice to bring body and mind into balance. Let's look at Chinese and Ayurvedic medicine, right? Now very much a part of our conversation, but those are things that we have adapted and adopted and taken from other cultures. The Aztec and Mayan rituals around temazcals, I can never say that word right. But again, an ancient practice that we now use in the wellness industry as part of our healing modalities. Can anyone think of another that comes to mind as I'm saying this? Does anyone have any others to throw out there? No? Okay.
Banyas?
Huh?
Banyas?
Yeah?
Yeah.
I'm not sure what you just said, but yeah.
Banyas, the Russian banyas.
Oh, yes,
also
yes, yes.
found in the Estonian, the Baltic countries,
Yes.
and Georgia.
Yeah. So it fits, right? These practices, plant medicine, are ancient healing practices and traditions that may find their way into our modern day, are finding their way into our modern day conversation. But this is not the first time that we've been down this path. And we do have the skill to do this. But as Dan said, and as I will reiterate very strongly, this is not a product. This is a process. So when we're talking about working with psychedelic medicines, we have to be ever so mindful that we are talking about people's mental and emotional health and wellness. This is also not something that we're going to be scaling and making big bucks on. If done properly, this is done, it's small, it's intimate, it's personal, and it's done across time. Longitudinally, we're offering support and care for people. Because at the end of the day, this is mental and emotional health that we're talking about. And so that is really important to keep in mind. It really requires community and continuity. Those are two other words I would say are really important in this conversation. So what I see is that psychedelics are really sitting at the intersection of a lot of trends that are going on in our hunger for healing emotionally, physically, spiritually. So we have medical tourism, we have transformational travel, we have wellness tourism, and psychedelics really sort of sit at the intersection of a lot of these different trends right now in our hunger and quest to find wholeness and healing. And what I think is that we're sitting at the dawn of the era of a really interesting opportunity for new collaboration and synergy between wellness and psychedelic medicine professionals. So Dan had also mentioned, we talk a lot about set and setting. Set kind of being mindset, but setting being the environment and the container that we create to have psychedelic medicine experiences. I don't see a future where people who are in the wellness industry per se are going to be the professionals working with these medicines. I see that we're at the dawn of an era where people who are trained, skilled, experienced, and really are professional psychedelic medicine practitioners will partner with and collaborate with wellness hotels, wellness resorts, health and healing facilities. In a partnership, we're coming in with our expertise, working within your settings to be facilitating these programs, because this is a very, very specialized area of medicine and wellness. So I think we're at the dawn of an era where we can have incredibly interesting collaborations like never before, and I think that's the only way to do this and move forward safely is by doing it in partnership with highly skilled and trained professionals. So we must move slowly, we must think soulfully, and we must create consciously and cautiously. This isn't something where anybody is going to rush into, and I am hoping that leaders such as Dan and myself, who are here and can offer ourselves to help guide this industry, can help this roll out at a really peaceful and thoughtful pace. Because if we do this wrong, we might cause harm. If we do this right, we could really be helping so many people evolve into a deeper sense of wholeness and health and wellness, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, which we so desperately need. But we do need to do it ever so cautiously. So now I'm going to really have fun just painting a picture for you of what might the future look like. So imagine now that you are one of the great healing hotels of the world, or a wellness resort, and you've now got a team of psychedelic medicine professionals who are part of your team. Perhaps you've outsourced them. You've brought me in for a week, a plant medicine health and healing week, or you've now got a team that's specialized in this medicine. How might that look? Maybe you have somebody on your team now, a psychedelic medicine professional, who can offer private sessions on site. They have an office. It's almost you see the merging of mental health, psychedelic medicine, and wellness into a healing center. So maybe you have private sessions. Maybe you offer an exclusive week. Here's where I think it gets interesting for you all, because maybe you design a line of products, programs, and services to help people prepare for their journey. Things that help them cleanse and be ready to do that journey work. So a special diet, a cleansing diet, digital detox, special yoga programs. So things that really prepare the body, mind, and spirit in the days leading up to your journey work. Then on the day of your journey, you're working with your psychedelic wellness team, who you've also been meeting with to set your intention, to kind of prepare what you're going to be working on psychologically and emotionally. And that same team is available to you in the days and weeks following to help you integrate, because the key here is not just the ingestion of your medicine, it's about working with that material that comes up. That's what it's all about at the end of the day, is working with that material that comes up. So, but on the flip side, so if we're offering this at a healing resort, a health and healing facility, maybe you also then have this wonderful line of services that you've worked with the plant medicine people, team on, where you're then on the flip side, you're also doing special healing modalities around some more, integrating, grounding back into your body with sound healing, with different nutrition, with healthy foods, with yoga, things that bring you back into connection with your body after your journey. So you can kind of see how this could look integrated into your settings, again, as a integration with the psychedelic medicine team working in conjunction. So the key again is that this is a process, not a product. And that this needs to be done by skilled professionals who are guiding and leading these experiences. So I also see in the future, as I stand here as a visionary, sort of projecting some possibilities for you all, that I think psychedelic medicine will start to, there might be some niche markets that we use this for. These are some programs that I'm currently developing and facilitating. So I do a program, Mind Over Midlife, using psilocybin with middle-aged midlife women, such as myself, looking at it for mind, mood, menopause, okay? There are applications for psychedelics for that niche market. For aging, saging, and psychedelics, there's lots of interesting research going on how psilocybin impacts and psychedelics impact neuroplasticity. So what are the implications for brain health and brain function and cognitive function as we age? Applications there as well. Cancer and consciousness. There are lots of applications. I'm now working with oncologists and developing programs where we're looking at how to use psychedelics early in cancer diagnosis for people to understand the psycho-spiritual, energetic aspects of being on a cancer journey, and how to use psychedelics, psilocybin in particular is what I work with, but to help people have a different way that they navigate a cancer journey on a more psycho-spiritual and energetic level. And I will say there's probably opportunities for really interesting things with couples. I'm developing some fun weekends with couples and psilocybin to introduce playfulness in plant medicine. Again, it's unpredictable. You can't always predict how these medicines will impact people, but when done skillfully, I think we'll see more and more niche marketing of psychedelic medicine for different ages, stages, and phases of the life journey and issues. I also think we're going to see this medicine move, as I mentioned earlier, from just being in the medical and clinical model to being more in the wellness space, more about consciousness and personal growth and development. I think that we're going to see some different approaches to doses of these medicines. I work with psilocybin. You have probably read about and see mostly psilocybin applied to in large dose applications. I think we're going to see some applications with psycholytic dosing, light doses, where we can take people into nature and do nature immersive activities. And I also think that we might see more about microdosing. Microdosing is a sub-perceptual level, and I would think that we might see that as an entry level into this, just in the way that Sarah, with Reddington, you have done with CBD. I think that we might see some applications in that as an entree. So again, the main thing I think that I want to close with is saying that I see a possible future where we integrate psychedelic medicine with the health and healing modalities and hotels of the world. But again, we have to move slowly, soulfully, cautiously, and consciously. Thank you.
Here, here.